Hey everybody, welcome to the Parker Byrd Show. I'm very excited about episode 1 here with Cleere Reaves. We will be talking about encouragement, her upbringing, and her life now. We'll be back soon here in the Legless Lounge. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Parker Byrd Show here with Cleere Reaves. Cleere wears many hats. She is an author, a speaker, and an entrepreneur. She is the owner and creator of Clearly Stated, which is an online boutique which has various inspirational products. She has a podcast called Let's Be Clear, which talks about everyday life, faith, and personal growth. Her work helps others see themselves and the world through the eyes of Jesus. She is married to Will and has the mother to a big stud sledge. And fun fact, Will told me one time over dinner that Cleare's first writings were probably about her love for Diet Dr. Pepper. So, Cleere, thanks for being on, and I'm very excited.
Oh, man, it's an honor. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Yeah.
You are a really good person to have a podcast. You've probably been told that.
Yeah, many times. So I'm excited to get this kicking and rolling. So first, let's start off with your name. I think your mom and dad set you up for greatness and had good foresight as a creator. So I think that they did an awesome job just creating a platform with Clearly Stated.
Yeah.
So I see your mom a lot actually in Pilates.
She tells me. She always tells me she had the honor of seeing you, and I'm like, I need to get back in there. Speaking of New Year's resolution, so that's what I should do. But yeah, my name is my great grandmother's last name, my grandmother's middle name, and now my first name, and then obviously Sledge is my grandmother's last name. So her name is Carolyn Cleere Sledge. So it kind of tells a story. I don't have to pay for Google Ad space. I'll say that, which is nice. But looking back, I'm like, they did have foresight, but I think often just how God works, we don't really know what's interwoven and what he's doing, and names carry a lot. So I am very transparent and pretty unfiltered. Yeah. So I think it's probably a good
God
name.
knew what he was doing.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So first question, let's start about with your upbringing and where you are today.
Wow, big question. So grew up in, Greenville, North Carolina. Which if you would have told me that I would be living in Greenville, North Carolina and married to Will Reaves, I would say absolutely not.
I feel like a lot of people say that though. They always say, I'm going to get out here one day and then end up still being here.
Well, and I think the older you get, the more you appreciate being able to call your dad, for example, and say, hi, Sledge is not feeling well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things about a small town, and really Greenville is growing. So, I don't even know that I'd consider it a small town. I think just so much it's different too when you move away, or just even as you get older, your friends change, your seasons change, what you're into changes. So I see it through a different lens now, especially raising a family, to be able to raise a family in a place that is incredible. We're in, Pirate Studio, so there you go, in the Legless Lounge, which I am going to get you a coffee cup with that on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, my dad actually created that. I can't take any credit at all.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so grew up in Greenville, and then grew up, one of 4 siblings, so I'm the middle kid, and a fun, lively bunch. Moved away, went to UNC Chapel Hill. I was a Tar Heel. I know that hurts your feelings. Anyway, talk about it later.
Hey, God forgives it, right?
Okay. All right. And that we're a basketball team. I always say football, social sport, pretty much, but I don't know. Now with Bill Belichick, whatever that is about.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But hey, basketball team that lost last night.
Okay, anyway, I knew that was coming. But one of 4 siblings, and then, went away for a little bit, was in Louisiana, Texas, had some time, just wanted to kind of, get my legs underneath me, and figure out who I was separate from what I'd kind of grown up around and just have a change of pace.
Yeah.
And so, and then moved back, started Clearly Stated in 2016, had really no idea what I was doing. I mean, it's what I tell you all the time. It's like, I think a lot of times you go in the back door through a place and everyone's asking about like the front entrance and you're like, I kind of have no idea how I got here. But the Lord was connecting dots and kind of started writing. And, I think just like a lot of things that, with you athletic wise and skill sets, it's like you don't realize you're a natural at certain things because they're just kind of inherently part of who you are and how you operate. And so, but in doing that, really realized that I had such a heart just to help people see themselves and others through the eyes of Jesus, and kind of how we could do that, how we could connect people, ways that we could bring the Bible, and it's the most active, lively thing we have access to, and the most strategic and professional. And Jesus was all of those things. It was like, how can I package the word in ways that it's more accessible, it's more relatable, or not relatable, but they could involve it more in their everyday lives.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how Clearly Stated was born, and then kind of started writing, and here we are a couple books later, and became a mom in 2021 and to Sledge, as you said, which his story, when he was born, your accident was July 23rd,
2022.
So he was born July 23rd, 2021.
Wow.
So I remember that's just always like that anniversary.
Yeah.
I think about you, and when that comes up.
God works miracles on that day.
Yeah, he does. He had a lot going on that day.
He did. He had his hands full for sure.
Keep him busy. And we're just one state,
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was born at a pound, obviously born at 26 weeks. That was obviously not planned.
Right.
But his journey has been one of just, you talk about miracles. I mean, it has been really cool. Yeah. I was actually on the phone this morning just talking to different speech therapists and kind of telling them just, he wasn't, supposed to walk, or they weren't sure what it looked like, right? I mean, I think they say every kid's different, every story's different. And as you've seen, like, healing usually takes longer than we like, but it's in a way that we couldn't explain, and in a way that shows God's glory to a lot of different people that we could not have done that ourselves. And so, it's like, man, he gets all the credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he has special needs, but we're looking at what that, I say it's supernatural needs or supernatural gifts and special needs.
That's good perspective.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, just seeing what that looks like right now. And that's been just a kind of a redefine my work. I mean, obviously becoming a mom, alone is really like learning what's important. And you don't really have time for the unnecessary, and so with him, just learning how to steward what matters and what Clearly Stated looks like, even just as far as raising awareness and education about that, and making sure that he knows how the Lord sees him.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually planning on asking this later on, but it's kind of led us right to it. Yeah. So throughout your posts and your works, really through social media, how have you shared Sledge's story, you guys' story, to inspire others?
So when we were in the hospital, before he was born, I always did like Good News Fridays. And it was honestly kind of happened accidentally. Yeah. It was really like the readers kind of just said, hey, this resonates. Hey, like I needed this. And whenever I say, as far as the creation process, if you're ever wondering about what you should create, ask where the need is, because people respond to that. So it's like, and inherently, if you need it, someone else probably does too, So, transform from Friday's Good News to just staring like Sledge updates. And we would be in the hospital, and I was just kind of like, I didn't really realize I was like writing out of, it was just kind of pouring out. And I think it was kind of a cry, like, Lord, be near, and also just asking for prayer. I mean, you talk about the power of prayer. You've seen it, I mean, it changes the game.
Yeah. And sound like my mom.
Yes, Facebook, it does. So. Look, me and Betsy will get serious about asking for prayer. And I'm shameless about it now. I think we have to be. And, honestly, it's like with dreams too. I think Bob Goff says something like, other people can't help you achieve your dreams if they don't know them. So it's like, vocalize them, talk about it, And so we just started sharing updates, and it was like God's army was just, all around. It was really cool. So it was like, the hospital transformed from a place that I dreaded going to a place that we had family.
Yeah.
And we had people who were fighting alongside us. And Sledge was, just defying odds. And it was just like, it felt like such a mission field, and so we kind of started sharing it that way. And then I don't know. And then, I'm chopped liver. Nobody cares about Cleere anymore. They're like, how's Sledge? I'm like, I know. Yeah. And he's just so resilient. And, I knew he said yes to what God was asking from him early on. And so my job as his mom, and honestly, just where I'm at, was, all right, we're going to get behind his yes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And he has one speed, and it is 100 miles an hour.
Full go, too. It is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, like you said, about the hospital, just creating family there. I know that my parents, they didn't really have anybody else but the hospital staff. Yeah,
because y'all moved here straight from...
We did, yeah. So in 22, we were still technically in Laurinburg, and then I got my accident in July. And then my parents they stayed up here until I got out of the hospital. And then the plan was for my dad to go back to work in Laurinburg. Yeah. But God just kind of brought us back to Greenville. And so very glad to be here. But going back to kind of your works, a lot of people read your social media, kind of wait for your Sunday night post for you to speak words over their week, kind of listen to you speak hope into their struggles. What pivotal points in your path kind of influenced you to where you are today?
Man, probably the hardest ones. Yeah. I think looking back at things like heartbreak, things like moving and having to kind of being in a season where you're lonely, trying to figure out, okay, Lord, do I trust you? and where I'm at. Yeah. And faith. So I think times where I've had to pivot, honestly, I would say in my life, which I don't know if this is like the best acronym, but BS, before Sledge and after Sledge.
Hey, it's okay. We have the same thing about my accident.
I was going to say.
Pre-accident or post-accident.
Yeah. Really, it's a
life
marker.
Changes. Really
for
does.
Everybody. But what you were just saying, your whole family pivoted, and thinking about who we would be apart from, like walking through that. It's kind of, it's impossible, so I think about just since Sledge was born, a lot of it is just with this, even walking through, having special needs and being an advocate, and what does that look like? And okay, Lord, how do I release what isn't mine to carry in this season, and trust that you're going to cover it, those gaps between, there's not enough capacity, and releasing the unimportant. And I look back and I think about, probably transition, heartbreak, even heartbreak that was self-induced, I was the one that, but even looking back at that, it was really a time where I had to lean in, I think as we're just inherently human nature, our pride leans into, I can do this on my own. And so I think life has to kind of jolt us and say, yeah, probably not.
No, we're not meant for it. We're not meant for it.
So I know this is your interview, but I'm just going to flip that on its head. Ask you, pivoting with where you are at now, what's hardest for you right this second?
I would say, looking back, it was trusting God's plan through it all.
Yeah.
But now, kind of in the hindsight, kind of seeing everything that God's done, it's just kind of trusting where He's going to lead it now, because the rehab stuff's over. I'm back out on the field, and I've already inspired so many people through God. So now it's just, how can I use that platform to inspire more and more? So it's kind of where I'm at today.
That's cool. And discerning possibility too.
Yeah.
I think the hard thing is with tragedy or anything that's hard, you have kind of an innate area you can travel through, right? But when it gets where there's more opportunities and there's more stuff going on, you feel well, what is the right thing to do? And so then sometimes you don't put your energy actually as much as when you were in the hard spot,
Right.
So I feel like, based on just our conversations, kind of where you're at.
Yeah, and it's really cool too, because I'm in a weird situation, because Paralympics is what I'm hoping for in 2028 in LA.
I'm ready.
And I'm really excited. But it's like, what sport do I pick? Because I've played baseball all of my life.
Could you just hear yourself what you just said? What sport do you pick?
What sport do I play?
It's not a common struggle, Parker.
What sport? Well, they don't have baseball in Paralympics, so
Okay.
it's kind of picking that new sport. And
Yeah.
I've have a lot of interest with swimming to track and field, with that being more
That would be
throwing.
Yeah.
So I actually went down to Columbia, South Carolina this past Saturday and worked with a Paralympic coach on throwing javelin,
Oh my gosh.
discus, and shot put. So
What was the hardest?
the hardest was javelin. It's a lot of technique,
Yeah.
and honestly,
Like, how do you control that?
I really underestimated it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've thought I threw all my life. Like, I've thrown baseball
Yeah.
in my entire life, but it's a different form of throw.
Yeah.
With the baseball, you're always throwing across your body. This one, you have to stay straight. And
I always say that I wish the
tough.
Olympics could be like the athlete, and then after
Yeah.
everyone is a normal, average, everyday Joe, and they have to do the sport because it's not fair. You like have these athletes, and they're unbelievable, and they're all unbelievable,
Right.
And so you have the top of the line all competing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if I got out there and did what they just did,
You got to realize even the bottom tier of the Olympics
the top of the line.
They're still top of the line.
Yeah,
so
that's really cool.
It's going to be fun, just
Yeah.
learning what's next and what God has in store. So
I'm excited.
So good. Like you kind of mentioned this already, but have you ever gone back and read some of the stuff that you've posted or written, and it kind of relates to a situation that you're in your current life, and say, I wrote this for so many others, but how long is it really for me?
Oh my gosh. Well, funny. I actually was texting my brother like probably 2 weeks ago, and he does this like every now and then, and it's enough time in between that I don't realize it's what he's doing again. And he sent me like 3 sentences, and I was like, God, thank you. Like that. You're right. Like, I just need to settle in that and whatever. He's like, Cleere, that was from your book. I was like, you did that again. Okay. Hit me with my words. But, I think even if I look back, first off, I have a really hard time reading my own writing. I don't know if you're like this with even looking at like plays or stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God bless all of these people buying this, because a lot needed to be worked on. You get stronger, you work the muscle, and hopefully you're always improving. But looking back, I can definitely see. I think one thing that's interesting too is like if you look back at, say, like even Sledge's time in the hospital, and just like as far as physically, like the schedule that we were on and being a new mom and different things with that journey, you think, how did I have endurance for that? Right? And like, I don't know if you feel that way, but you're like, it's kind of like in the Bible, the Lord does that for Elijah, and he gives him, it says, special strength for the season. And I think that's what he does. It's like, you look back and you're like, I probably can do that right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's the daily bread.
Yes, exactly. And he knew the manna.
That's something I've actually changed in the past probably 3 months, is in my prayers, instead of asking for strength for a certain thing, just like, give me the strength for today. Because
I am going to steal that.
Yeah.
That's so
it's
good.
It's not my word, it's God. So.
No, it's so good though. It's so true.
But, it's like a lot of people, I feel like, are so worried about a specific thing in their life, and instead of just worrying about the present moment, they're worried about more of the future. So kind of just change that and just ask for the strength of that day. And I think in the Lord's Prayer, that's what he means by our daily bread. And I think it was Pastor Aaron at Open Door. He's the one that was preaching on it. And I was like, you know what?
So good.
That's a different perspective that I've never...
PA hit me with the wisdom.
Not
shocking. I do feel like, too, thinking about it, though, it's like thinking about Abraham. It's like, would you go on an unknown journey where you don't know where it is, and you don't know how much is going to be asked of you if you only get daily bread? And then that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not ever going to really know, even when you think you have the false control. I think the freedom comes when you realize you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it feels kind of irresponsible in a way, because we're so like want to white knuckle and know those things.
That's the other day. The message at Open Door was also about white knuckling. I didn't go to that. I was at in the Winterville campus, but me and my girlfriend have actually been going to Emmanuel a good bit.
Oh, which is so good. Doesn't it feel like it's just pure?
It's homey. It's very homey.
Yeah, it's just sacred.
It's awesome.
Strips down all the pretense, which with social media, which is great.
Yeah.
And you're tapping into all of that now, and I always say that like as long as it dies tomorrow, and what you would do would keep living, you're good.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, our next question. So there's a lot of people out there that their plan gets derailed. They have this great plan in life, and it's kind of myself as well.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do you tell people to keep glorifying Jesus even if their plan does get derailed?
I mean, I think we can take a lot of heart in the fact that he told us it would,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think if he is the one who makes the plans and kind of the detour was in it, then there is a level of just surrender, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's human nature to
Yeah.
be like, this doesn't look like what I thought it would. And, you know, but at the end of the day, I think if we don't adjust our expectations based on our reality, then we are setting ourselves up for disappointment, you know,
right.
because our expectations determine what we experience. And so if there is a detour, then not allowing ourselves to grieve what is not and say, look, it doesn't look like what you thought it would.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And you can be sad about that. We can be frustrated. We can be disappointed. And we can bring all of that as long as we're bringing it to him. I always say like throne, not phone, which is so corny. But honestly, like
Yeah,
as long
it's
as we're
true,
bringing
though.
it to him,
Yeah.
then I think he can help us recalibrate and see, you know, with supernatural vision what he is doing.
Yeah.
And like you said, that manna for today. And I think all you can do is to know, okay, Lord, I'm going to be diligent with what you've given me. And this is frustrating. I'm gonna be honest, I still don't like it. You know, like I mean, I think I was just have that conversation with him. Like, yeah, Lord, I'm still not a fan of this particular thing. You know, and I think he's like, yeah, we'll sort that out.
You know who I think had the purest relationship with God in the Bible is probably Moses, because he was so honest with him. He's like, I don't understand why we're doing this. Like, why do I have to go back to the Pharaoh whenever he wants me dead?
Yes.
You know, like, I just. There's a Netflix documentary. I think it's only like 3 episodes, but it kind of just describes the life of Moses. And
I'm gonna have to. I haven't watched that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Because I'm a visual learner. I'm a very visual learner. So when I saw it, it makes total sense.
Have you seen the show that's what is it? I cannot think of it. You know, it's the life of Jesus, and it's all about
The Chosen.
Yes,
I have not, but my parents watch it because it's one thing about shows with me is I like to listen to it and pay attention to it, but also like I like to multitask with them.
See, that's what I do. I'm like in the other room, and I'm like, "Well, what happened?" And he's like, "I cannot do this with you."
Yeah, I know. And The Chosen, my parents told me that you have to
be like,
really.
You cannot be making Legos.
I love to do that.
I know.
So that's exactly why I like to multitask with. So yeah, awesome. I feel like a lot of times you have the right words for a lot of people throughout your posts and stuff. So what motivates you to keep going whenever you really don't feel like it yourself?
To be totally transparent with you, which I promised I would give you.
To be clear.
That has been a little bit of where I'm at, actually. And it's more so just when like life has just a lot going on and you are personally navigating dynamics in relationships, healing, confusion with, you know, even like sledge, like, okay, Lord, need some fluidity here of care. What are we doing? You know, can you help us? Can you highlight what you want us to do, who you want us to call, how you want us, you know? And so with that, I think it's just a little bit of like burnout kind of, you know, but I think in there, instead of me, I have to constantly pray because it's hard, like on Clearly Stated as a public platform. Yes. But I'm also talking about the most private thing to me. So it's like, how do I discern what is sacred and what is meant to be shared, right? Yeah. And so it's continually coming back to that place and being like, Lord, maybe this was just for me. Like maybe, and there are days where I'm like, because I mean, I'm writing real time and I'm either writing it or I'm out, you know? So I'm like, okay, I'm not there today. God, I just need you to fill me up and the Holy Spirit can do what he needs as far as meeting other people. You know, I think what really helps me though, as far as like inspiring me to write a lot of times too, is when I'm having a conversation with friend, family member, whomever, and we're just talking about life or they're struggling or they're asking for prayer or something's going on, because I write to them. So anytime I write, I'm writing to either myself, a family member, a friend, or a person that's like written a message or something. So because if I write to one person, it's way more inclined to help multiple people. Whereas if I write to everyone, it gets lost. Yeah. So I think that also makes me feel like it's important. You know, I feel the weight of it. And so I think as long as I hone that, and I just never want to lose purity of heart for the sake of growth.
Yeah.
Because what even kind of growth is that if I get lost in the process?
Right.
And so I think that's been the most important to protect what I do is that I don't get confused about who I am and what God's asking of me because
Right.
he can do all this without me. He does not need me.
No.
I continually ask him, I'm Moses. Why are you asking me to talk? I'm like, Lord, I'm tired. I'm not your girl. I promise there's other better communicators. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. I chose you.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to sit in agreement or what are we going to do with this? So I think that always having those conversations, remembering that honestly his goodness, gratitude's a really quick callback for me to write because anytime I'm like thinking about what he's saving us from or what he's doing, I'm just like, oh my gosh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot I could say. Even when I don't like always the circumstances I'm in.
Right.
You know?
How much has your writings changed since Sledge? Like your perspective on your writings?
Ooh. I felt like the veil between heaven and earth got really thin. So I feel like it was like I always say like Cleere went to camp and then Cleere came back from camp and matured and like
and dove
we're
deep.
in it. Yeah.
Dove deep right into it. That is
yeah.
awesome.
I don't really feel like now, and probably almost to like an extent where I see someone in the grocery store who was like, dude, we did not have to ask about their dying relative. And I'm like, I don't know that I have time to mince, It just feels like such a sense of like, to not waste time on the unimportant, I would say. You can hear Will saying that, right? Like, did we have to go there?
That's why I laugh so hard. That is awesome. All right, so kind of want to play a little game. So you're a wordsmith. I'm gonna give you some words or phrases.
Oh, are you serious?
And I want you to clearly state them the way that you do so well.
This is brutal.
So first word is disappointment.
God's mercy.
That's good. Just straight to
in
it.
disguise.
That's awesome. Second word, purpose.
Love God, love people.
And third is impossible.
Nothing.
One word, nothing. Nothing. That is awesome. All right. I think right now is a perfect time to get at our sponsors. So at Children's Health Services, they understand the importance of your child's well-being. Dr. Chris Osmick and my dad, Dr. Byrd, are on a mission to provide comprehensive patient-centered health care through every stage of child development, starting the day your children are born in the hospital. Children's Health Services, Arlington Boulevard, Greenville, are coming soon to be the second location on 10th Street.
No way.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, my dad's really excited about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to tell him.
On 10th Street. I'm glad it's on here because I didn't even know where it was.
Classic kid fashion.
Yep.
Can I offer a personal advertisement for them?
I would love to.
Best ever. So solid, so comprehensive, so willing, and they are personally involved. You're not a number ever. And that's rare at a doctor's office. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually, I know he's my father, but I was actually at Aquaventure today swimming this morning, and a grandmother actually went in there yesterday, and she was saying what was wrong with her child and stuff, and she was just talking about my dad's care and talking about how well it was. And,
oh my gosh.
I don't brag on him much because he'd kill me, but she told me that she was trying to bring out a lollipop to help the kids stop crying and stuff, and my dad was just so patient, and I told her, like, we'll go out to dinner, and there'll be a kid crying, and we're like, dang, that kid's loud. And Dad's like, what kid? Just because he's so used to it.
So used to it. It's always you that you feel like you're like a megaphone, and they pick the most public, crowded places to do it. It's a humbling act, But he's the best.
Definitely. Hey, everybody. This segment of the Parker Byrd Show is brought to you by Shimmer Boutique. Shimmer has a lot of cool stuff like Pimp Shrimp, Local Boy, and Yeti, and they have a new online website at shimmerboutiqueonline.com. Make sure you guys go and check that out, and thank you to Shimmer for the sponsorship of the Parker Byrd Show. Okay, so next question. What do you say to someone that is struggling to remind them that there's hope and breakthrough that's ahead in their future?
I would say get with a friend who can pray with you. I don't know. I feel like that is such I mean, scripture says it, where two or more are gathered, like his presence is known, and I think that's so important. I think a lot of times what we feel like is our struggle, where we feel like I can't do this anymore. I just want to tap out. I actually don't think I think it's more about feeling lonely in the struggle than it is the struggle itself, I would say, because you're made to do hard things, like point blank. It's what you were made for. So I think the other side of it is just knowing you're not alone in doing it, and that at some point you will be Moses and Aaron will hold your hands up. Like there has to be that, right? And so but also what that requires is the invitation of that and the vulnerability. So I would say be honest about where you're at, know that God's in it with you. And also it's okay to not be okay, a lot of life is that way. We're homesick. We aren't there yet. So, I think it just is a matter of humbling ourselves, getting honest, finding good community, good friends, and leaning in and crying out. And he hears,
That's right.
So,
yeah, that's been, I think, the pivotal point in my walk with Christ has probably been my small group.
Yes, for sure.
I feel like it's been so informational, one, to learn, but like also the relationship base has been
it's a game
tremendous.
changer.
I mean, I've grown close to, and my dad laughs at me, my mom laughs at me because I'm like, oh yeah, that's my friend. And I'm like, yeah, that's my friend Todd. And that's my friend Mike. Yeah. These guys are 50 years old, 55.
It doesn't matter. So, honestly, I think the intergenerational is so important because, that is like Paul and Timothy. Like you want like the mentorship and the mentee, and they need you and you need them.
Right.
And I always say, like, why would you like pretend? Why wouldn't you just ask someone who's standing up on the ladder and they can tell you about what it looks like up ahead instead of like guessing and like maybe, like, and we were made for that, and that intimacy. I mean, it really is. And it also too, there is a level of like, wait, you hate this too? Wait, this sucks. Like you need that, like you need that camaraderie, and people to call you back, but also to be like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't want this. This is not like, but I'm going to help you, and you're going to borrow my faith until you arrive at that place.
Yeah, there's so many just different walks in life.
Yeah,
I think, and within my small group, and most of them are older, but there's also some guys that are my age that are really on the baseball team. Carter Cunningham goes to it.
Yeah.
So it feels like I don't bring much to the table, but they remind me all the time, like, hey, gosh, like you're inspiring us. And I honestly just sit there and let them talk, and we have our own Bible study with ECU, and that's where I do my talking because, those guys are like my brothers, and my small group is too, but their wisdom is awesome. And
that's cool. It's
I'm
fueling
just soaking
you.
it in.
It's fueling you for that you can go and be that pillar of strength too at your other Bible study too. Yeah. But like you don't even realize that. I think a lot of times, like wisdom can be shared through words. Sure. Yes. But James, if we aren't living it, right? And you just told me you went to Aquaventure this morning. What does that tell me? That you are being steadfast, that you're being disciplined, that you know that God has opportunity ahead, that this was a detour, that you're continuing to show up and saying, all right, God, what are you doing here? And what'd you do? You talked to a grandmother. What does that tell me? Yeah. You're seeing people, right? Yeah. You're allowing yourself to be interrupted, that you're aware that God's like you're not in such a rush of your own plan that you're negating his, So there's a lot just in living that you inspire people when we are, remaining and listening to him and being interruptible and showing up like we're supposed to. So I think that's cool.
I think that's another perspective in my life that's also changed is like my success, right? Like success to me is how many people I can lead to Christ. Getting my story out there, showing God's mercy, His grace throughout my story, because never want my experience to be the one that's, spoken throughout any of my speeches, and because people will be entertained, but they won't really get anything from it. And just making sure that God's word's in there. So that's my definition of success. What is yours?
Can I just piggyback on yours?
Yeah, you might as well.
I think, it's so Christianese, which is why I hate saying it, but more of him and less of me. I think that when a lot of times, like throughout writing, sometimes I'll worry if I hear him. Be like, God, is this you? What I have learned is he's a good father, and he can course correct. So he's not worried about that. But also is that the hope is that you're so intimately intertwined and communicating with the Holy Spirit that it's like when your hand does this, like his hand is like right here. Like you don't even see the separation. Like pen to paper, we're doing it together in that partnership, you know?
Yeah.
So I think my hope is that, and I always like two words that really always come up for me are kindness and courage. I always want to be available and kind, no matter who, where, what it looks like, or what it requires me. And then courageous, like I don't want to wait to be comfortable, you know? And so I think those two things that I pray that for Sledge also, and faithful in the little things and the big things. You know, I think it's funny because I think heaven probably flips a lot of stuff on its head. Like, who cares about a platform? I mean, I'm grateful for it, right? We're grateful for it. Like, you are utilizing it, and it's a tool. But the minute that the tool becomes the identity, we get compromised. And so to really kind of like make sure I keep that in focus, make heaven crowded. You know? That's what it's about.
That's it. That's awesome. Last question. We kind of just talked about, you know, within my Bible study, there's some older guys, so they can kind of lead the way. What would you go back and tell 12-year-old Cleere today?
Oh, gosh, Parker. I don't know that there's enough time to help. She was so kind and did not have a backbone. I don't know. I've thought a lot about that. Can I come back for another episode and tell you my answer? I am actually in the middle of really like learning what I would tell her, because I think a lot of it would just be like, that God sees you, you know, and, man, he honors an honorable heart. Like he, you know, that really like to continue to focus on, you know, I always think about the scripture, like cleaning the inside of the cup and the outside is inherently used. But the only person who knows that the inside of the cup clean is the one who's holding it. And so to really have a life that is committed to the deep work. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I would tell 12-year-old Cleere. You know, I think I feel like the Lord's kind of always told me, like, you have a spirit of joy that I think sometimes like I've dumbed down to make others more comfortable, maybe because it seemed like almost annoyingly positive I've been told, which like I'm like, I guess I'd rather have that, right?
Than the negative for
sure.
So,
but I think I would just say, like, let that flag fly, you know, just to continue to preserve authenticity and that God is good for his word, you know? So,
if I went back and told 12-year-old Parker, it would definitely be to put God first and not basebable. Because
such a good practical, like, all right, buddy.
Well,
what would 12-year-old Parker have said?
But I love baseball. Well, it's really, you know, all my life, I think my parents did a great job of really instilling that relationship with Christ with me and my sisters. But with travel baseball, it's so hard to...
So much time.
And you just get so busy. And tournaments on the weekends. And honestly, we all put baseball first. And I know my sisters have gone to thousands of travel ball tournaments and probably hated every second of it. Unless it was in Florida and they could go to a beach.
They're like, good luck.
That's exactly what they do. Any 8 a.m. game, don't expect them to be there at all. But I think that we were just so wrapped up in our plan, that we just kind of put baseball first and kind of slapped us right in the face during my accident and realized, like, hey, this isn't what you're supposed to be.
But I think also what it does is it gives you a level of relatability to guys that it's not like you've always been like, you know, I think when we aren't honest about like our flaws or where we've been at or a mindset that we've had that we honestly have to kind of fight in moments, you know, like your sports aren't your identity. Paralympics is not your identity. Whatever happens, outcomes are not your responsibility. Like,
it's just what you do.
Like constantly going back to that. I think that just makes it a posture of humility, but also like, Yeah, man, been there.
Had
Still am
done
there.
that.
Yeah,
Done that.
still am there.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I know we're closing up, but your tattoo, I'm just telling you, I might copy it.
Hey,
It
you
says
got
perspective.
It's not my
It's
idea.
so
Well,
good,
I
though.
saw it somewhere. I think I actually saw it on a person,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know what, that really relates to my life, and I don't even think I knew the person. I think it was probably on Instagram.
Which
and
honestly makes it even better. It's just like,
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't tell them. I didn't slide into their DMs. Like,
For all we
hey,
know,
by
it was
the
your
way,
idea,
I'm copying
right?
your idea. But I saw it, and I was like, you know, this really relates
good.
to my life. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I went to Haley in town. She's a fine line artist. And
There we go.
so, and this one, Yahweh, our whole family got that one. Even my
love that.
mom. It's crazy that she got one.
I was going to
still.
say.
It's small and right there, but just the fact, or I think it's actually on the inside. It's an inside, and
So
I'm just,
cool.
It's cool to see how much she's changed as well.
Yeah.
I mean, she is a philosopher. She knows the Bible in and out.
Yeah.
She tells me so many stories. I was actually, while I was swimming today, Carter Cunningham on his Just God pod, he saw Caroline Boulevard the other day.
Okay.
And he was telling her, like, I'm really wanting to get more women onto my podcast.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, Mitzi Bird's perfect.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about, like, questions that, because he texts me whenever he interviewed my dad, which I think that podcast is out, and it's incredible.
I haven't listened. I need to, though. I'm excited.
I told my dad I'd have a cry count on him, how many times he cried, and it was only twice, so I'm proud of him.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
Talk about a big part. Come on. You can't crack on that.
Nah, well, it was good, though.
Yeah.
But I was thinking one of the things that kind of gets swept under the rug with my accident and God's story that he's given us is really how good a mother I am. And I think God just kind of, or a mother that my mom is.
Yeah.
And I think God just kind of brought that out to light. And she, you know, everybody knows that saying she told me, why not you? There's always has to be a first. But I think that was just God's words through her so that
100%.
she can kind of be portrayed more. Because all my life, my dad's been the big guy, you know, the doctor in town. And Mom's been a tremendous mother all my life. She's really the glue to our family. So I was like, Carter, you really need my mom on there.
She's so
awesome.
steadfast. I think that's a good word for your mom.
Yeah.
Where it's like she has a quiet confidence that like speaks volumes, you know? And so I just think that's so powerful. Yeah. And you can tell she's just saturated in the word.
She loves it.
Yeah.
She loves it. Well, thank you for your time today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It's Christmas time.
I'm super proud of you. Well, I just need to tell you.
I appreciate it.
I'm really proud of you. I think that, you know, it's one thing to know that God's given you a platform and that he's positioned you. It's another to say, okay, I'm going to leglessly walk forward.
That's right. We'll hop right into it.
You know,
literally.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
That's awesome.
So I'm super proud. I can't wait to see what he has in store.
Hey,
it's going to be good.
It's going to be awesome. Make sure you guys check out Cleere on her Instagram at Clearly Stated. And her podcast, Let's Be Clear, available on all platforms. Hope to see you guys soon, and God bless.